That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Columbia. This is Houston, AOS over.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the TKW Podcast. I am your host, Anthony Corbo, and as always, joining me, I've got the illustrious Kyle Maggio. Do you want to say hello, Kyle?
Yeah, can you guys not hear me?
I hear you.
Nope. Oh, I didn't hear that. All right, the illustrious Kyle Maggio fools me again, but we still have the grand Bryan Gibberman with us as well.
Can you hear me? What's up?
Hi. Okay, good. Now that we're all good, I don't know what's going on. This could be a very fun podcast today, but we're coming off the heels of another Knicks loss to the Denver Nuggets. They were taken. It was a close game throughout most of the game, but they got taken down at the end. I'm stalling because I'm trying to get the final score up here.
115-108.
Thank you, Brian.
Anytime.
The Knicks led through halftime. They played a pretty tight game through three quarters, and for what it's worth, I thought there was a lot of positives that we could take away from that game.
Yeah, aside from them letting Jokic run rampant, Kanter was actually very effective off of the bench, so that was nice. He was eating up the second units a little bit. Frankie had a really nice game, 10 points, 5 assists, 4 of 6 shooting, 2 of those being threes. He looked good out there. I mean, defensively, he actually looked like himself, too, which is what I enjoyed. The offense is always nice. As I've said, if he just scores 10 points a game the entire season, I'd be thrilled because that's actually a pretty significant leap in doubling his scoring output. So seeing just the 10-point benchmark to go with the 5 assists was pretty nice. Mudiay was kind of gunning. Timmy played well, and Kornet played Kornet's just doing what he's going to do.
Just the spacing that he brings out
the
there.
widest of open
from
threes.
The very start of the game. Oh, it's incredible. Like, he just goes to the corner. Like, there was that drive very early in the game where Hardaway got it in the corner, and any other time, either Kanter's clogging up that lane there, or Hardaway's trying to take a wildly contested, layup, and then now you got Kornet open in the corner that he can just swing it to, and he hits the open three. It's a beautiful thing what spacing can do for this team.
All right, here's a question for you guys. If this game isn't in Denver, do we think Mudiay plays as much?
Maybe just a smidge less. And I'm sure he had a very green light, given the revenge game situation.
Frank played better than him. Mudiay had 33 usage in that game and a 35 effective field goal percentage.
33 feels low, but I get it.
That's so you can't win. And I know he had the 9 assists. I thought he played a really selfish game. I didn't like how he played.
I wouldn't say I want to disagree on selfish. I thought it was more selfish than we've seen, but it wasn't quite selfish yet. Like, that's how I felt. Like, he was for sure gunning. Like, there's no denying that. But I didn't feel it was excessively selfish based on what we've seen from him being in attack mode the better part of the last month.
His vision was just a little narrow. I mean, and the thing is, he's supposed to be the guy who's the best, ball mover, the best passer on this team. But, there was plenty of times where he was missing guys open on the wing or guys open from three, and just kind of either driving or taking the shot or just looking for a pass that wasn't there. And I think that was the biggest issue with him. He just kind of had a bit of tunnel vision in the game, but he was back home, he was gunning. I kind of expected it from him.
That post up in the last 2 minutes might have been the worst possession of the game.
Yeah, that was not. He fished a little bit. Was that the one where he thought he got fouled?
Yes.
He tried to do a rip through to go up with it, and they stripped it, and then he thought he got fouled and was arguing. That one you could clearly see. It was he had his moments. I think he was trying to be selfish, maybe not just in just scoring, but in having to try to do it all. I think he wanted to showcase everything and do everything. And that's how it felt. It looked like he was trying to impress out there, and it killed him a little bit down the stretch. It did. And Frankie was having a really nice game very quietly too. Normally, like when Frank does anything good or starts to put together a nice game, everyone freaks out. Nobody really freaked out up until the end, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, this was a pretty nice Frank game."
But that's all you really need from Frank. That's all we're really asking for from Frank is like, hit 3 or 4 shots a game. We'd like you to try to attempt some open threes when you got it. He was, getting to the rack really, really strongly, it looked like, and creatively too. And his passing looked pretty good too. Like an overall good game for him, and that's pretty, I think, generally speaking, when it comes to Knicks fans, like nobody's asking for this guy to, go out there and turn into Damian Lillard or something like that. We just want a confident player who's going to hit a couple of shots a game, who looks like he's improving and not just having freak games that he scored 16 points in.
I like this better than the big scoring games. I liked how he balanced the passing and the shooting. The defense was better. He had the one play that really stuck out was when he picked Monty Morris. Mm-hmm. But just in general, I thought the defense looked a little bit stronger. Something I talked about when he was picking up full court, he was actually trying to beat the guys to the spot rather than slide with them. The couple days off was good for him. Maybe he just needed to reset a little bit.
They were making quick decisions as a whole out there. Like I haven't looked up the numbers for the pace of this game or anything like that, but it was definitely pretty fast paced, and they looked to be enjoying that. There was a lot of transition play, and there was a lot of guys would get the ball and they would either pass or shoot pretty much right away. There wasn't a lot of ball stopping in this game.
Well, that's what the strength of this team should be. Like, that's what Fizdale talked about doing, was running and running and running. And a lot of the guys on this team, that's what they're good at, is running and playing free. Like, Frank's better in an up and down game than he is in a half court, bogged down kind of a game. So a lot of the better games that he's had have been in a faster tempo game, a more upbeat game. So that makes a lot of sense why, he felt a little bit more comfortable there. We've always known that Tim Hardaway plays better in transition. That's his bread and butter. So if you can get him going, and he had a pretty efficient night. He had 16 points on, I think it was 12 or 13 shots. So, I mean, he
had pretty good passing, too. That was really the benchmark of Tim Hardaway's game for me. He looked to be confidently passing and making the right pass.
Yeah, he looked like he was making the right play, basically. Yeah, without overshooting for once, which was nice. And But a lot of these guys too, Knox, that's supposed to be what Knox, part of his game too, and fitting with KP and Fizdale was getting an up and down player. And that's why he was so good in the summer league, and how he's been this last month is because he's been out and running. So I mean, the up tempo stuff is what we should see from them on a nightly basis. And I think that's one thing that some of us get disappointed with. I know I do. I don't have a lot of expectations for this year. I don't expect them to win a lot of games. I just want to see the guys develop, and I want to see some sort of a system in place, no matter what the talent is. And when they get up and down like this a little bit more is when I start to feel good about that. So hopefully we start to see like some sort of a system or a style of play anyway, consistently used from here on out, because the first 20 or so games was kind of a mess with what kind of style we'd see.
It was just a crapshoot. They were just trying to see what was going to work, And it's just seeing any kind of this game just looked to be a good benchmark of where our players could be progressing together. There was that play you were just talking about where Frank got the steal coming up the court, and he waited patiently for Knox, who was gunning in in transition, knowing that he could get to the rim before anybody else. Frank tossed it up to him, and he got it. I don't remember if it was an oop or not, but he got it plus the foul, and that was just a really, really nice sign of things that could be coming. Those two building a connection together. Just keep giving solid games. They don't need to be over the top each time someone has a good performance, but this core kind of looked to be in sync last game. Two
things off of what you guys said. The quick decision-making. Knox in the half court, he had three drives to the basket where he kind of saw they move the ball well, and he doesn't even hesitate. He just catches and goes. One of them, he even did that play in the NFL, you know how a wide receiver runs into a pass to catch it, and that's good? He kind of started his run into the pass and attacked the basket right off of that. Basically the opposite of what Trier does, who Alonzo kind of likes to survey and look at things. Knox is better when he's just going and quick, and that can really fit well in the flow of an offense. And I'd like to see them get him on the move a little bit more. I think they've been doing it a little bit more, incorporating some of the off-ball stuff that he did well at Kentucky, running off screens, but I think you can get him on the move very much like early in KP's career. when you got a KP on the move, good things happen. I think when you get Knox on the move, good things will happen.
Yeah, it's that downhill action is when they're most successful with him. Like they do it in the same spot. It's high post at worst, but normally it's a high pick and roll, and they really try to get him running, like really try to get him going, whether he has the ball or not, because then it kind of helps, I guess, mitigate some of the decision making that he might have to do. But he really has just been getting it, and when he attacks, he takes like 2 steps in, and then he's good to go. And if not, we've seen him kind of get it and then take that half a second to make a decision. Like when he gets around the screen, like he'll pick up the ball now and realize, okay, I don't have it. Let me pull it back out. Or, okay, the defender overplayed the drive. I'm just going to, really slowly come around the screen now and pull up into a jump shot. So, whereas in the beginning of the season, when they gave him that same kind of action, he was going 100 miles an hour right at the rim. He was jumping really early, and then he would kind of fumble the ball a little bit. He kept adjusting a lot, going, because he can't go left, obviously. So, it's nice. I like seeing action run for our guys we're developing, because last year one point of contention with Hornacek and KP was there was no action for KP run almost ever. A lot of it was just we're going to dump the ball in, top of the key to KP or on the block to KP and let him go to work. And not that he doesn't have certain physical advantages, but that's a lot of what we saw with the Melo offenses. And it's like, we should see action. Like, you should want to optimize your guys a little bit more, especially when something that was something KP was successful with his first couple of years. So seeing this early with this much emphasis on it for Knox is encouraging, and I enjoy that very much.
And the other aspect that I wanted to hit on was the ball movement. I think I want to try and get some numbers to back this up, but my guess is playing Kornet more and Kanter less probably helps increase ball and player movement, because Kornet's not a ball stopper. Kanter's a ball stopper. And Kornet also spaces the floor while Kanter clogs the lane. I don't think you could pick out 2 different players that are farther away from each other on the spectrum of how they play. And Kornet just fits way better in a team basketball concept than Kanter. So I could see that helping them with assists, overall amount of passes, body. And there's just a lot that can be improved there.
On that note, too, the other thing that I noticed in this game about Kornet starting over Kanter is that having Kornet run out, be able to play on the wings and be able to play behind the three-point line, kind of frees Noah Vonleh up to get inside a little bit more, and where he's able to facilitate a little bit more passing, or he had a couple of really nice dunks where he just went for it in this last game, but he had some great offensive rebounds too. He had some great, he had a really nice rebounding game in general. And just his passing looked really good too again. And just, I feel like Kanter in the middle is going to stop the ball every time he gets there, so he can't even get around the court. Having someone like Vonleh there and having someone like Kornet now out on the wing who's going to be a threat, it just changes how defenses have to respond to your team so dynamically. Well,
that's a great point, and that's something why a lot of us, I know Brian's on board with this, but that's why we want to see Vonleh come back, if all things don't go well this summer with big-name free agents, because that exact thing, except with Porzingis instead of Kornet, I think that's something that would be just a fantastic fit. It's why I've kind of wanted that. I don't know how to describe the exact skill set of that player, but like Vonleh, Julius Randle, why we'd want Zion to play that position too. Like those kinds of, I don't know if you call them like bouncy fours, but they could play make a little bit. They could do a lot of different things. And I just think like a Vonleh would be really nice next to KP. I mean, we see elements of that now to your points about Kornet, and it's like a guy who can go in and bang a little bit and rebound and still give you something on offense and can shoot a little bit. Like, it kind of plays off of what KP's really good at and where his weaknesses are at, in my opinion. I think it'd be a great fit, and I think we're kind of seeing a really parsed down example of that with Kornet now.
All right, so if we look at the 2 lineups, the newest starting lineup and the previous starting lineup, the one with Kornet, an 18.1 net rating in 40 minutes, 125 offensive rating, 107 defensive rating. The one with Kanter, -16, 101 offensive rating, 117 defensive rating. It's pretty funny.
It's so hard to even take any of these stats into account for anything right now. Like, what are we, 9-29 now?
Yeah.
It's just like
I
want to see a stretch where they don't play like where they don't get like. I want to see them not on basically this West Coast road trip to assess how the Kornet lineup's looking versus the Kanter lineup, but I just the way that teams have to respond to the Knicks now, like they were just the way that they were in it so for so long in the Denver game, it makes me optimistic moving forward.
I don't want to go nuts on the lineups and the net ratings for Kanter because while I know they're not good this season, I also do want to use the context of last year with KP. He was mostly pretty good, and I know that's not. I'm not trying to sit here and say that that's all Kanter or a large part Kanter. A lot of it, obviously, a large part of it's Porzingis in that pairing, but they played pretty well off of each other. Is my point, and at times they looked really good together too. So I don't want to slam him too much when this is already a really talentless, not good roster. But I understand that he's been struggling. Like I just want to.
All right, my counter to that.
I'm not bashing. I'm also not defending. I'm just saying it's in the middle.
Here's the counter. I believe out of any two-man pair with Porzingis, he was also the worst one out of any player on the roster. Second was that he had that one good month last year where the Knicks were winning, and it wasn't, and that was when like Jack was playing point guard. And that really wasn't anything to do with Kanter. He happened to just be on the court as Porzingis played like Anthony Davis for a month. And then when that stopped happening, those lineups with Kanter and KP stopped playing as well. And then it all collapsed once KP got hurt.
Okay.
Is Jared Jack playing anywhere right now?
He was in New Orleans. I think he got. I feel like he's not there anymore, but he was in New Orleans.
Dude, Jeff Hornacek started that dude for 50. Can we fire him again, man?
It's unreal. I cringed a little just hearing his name the first time you said it.
You know what still really bothers me about when he was doing the right thing for like half the season, in my opinion, like with Frank anyway. Like I had other gripes about especially the way he was using KP, despite KP being super effective. He was starting the games out almost exclusively with Jack, and then would finish the games like 8 out of 10 games would be finishing with Frank. And I thought that was exactly right. And I felt like that was the formula that we should always hope to see. And then for like whatever reason in January, he just went away from it. And then I was like, okay, maybe he's trying to win, the old cliche, you got to play your veterans or whatever. But then KP went down, and I was like, okay, we all know you aren't winning. And then he just like stuck with the vets more, and Frank's minutes disappeared more. And I was like, what are we doing? For a decent chunk of the year, you had it correct. Frank didn't have to start; he just had to finish, and you had that much correct. He's playing good amount of minutes, and then like January and beyond, it just disappeared.
I'm surprised it's taken this long since I've joined the podcast to get us to bash Jeff Hornacek.
And you loathe that guy.
Yeah, that is correct.
But because I think for a decent part of the year too, up until around the same point, he had them playing like an exactly average team, like on both ends of the floor. They were ranked like there was a stretch of like a month where they were ranked no higher than like 14th in either of the two, and no worse than like 17th or 18th in either of the two. So I remember that much, and I was like, wow, despite my complaints, they are a perfectly average team. That is odd. Like, it felt odd by the statistics to point that out. But after that, again, I think there was a certain point when that and everything else just went way off track. But
we'll always have the super team, though.
The super team.
All right, what else do we want to look at today? Is there anything else from the Nuggets game you guys wanted to touch on before we move on?
No.
Well, I guess really the only other big piece of news to discuss from this past week is some talk about Kristaps Porzingis not necessarily being a lock to come back to the Knicks after the season. KP's a restricted free agent at the end of the year, so the Knicks could obviously match any offer for him, but there's supposedly some rumors out there about him that potentially not necessarily being a given.
I thought it was kind of strange. Somebody, I think it was Bob Silverman, pointed it out on Twitter.
I'm literally pulling up his tweets right now to read them. That's
he was just like, and first of all, they were all good points. I'm not going to sit here and do the Bondi bashing that might happen on this pod anyway, but my point was, like, I feel like that's fine for you to report, but like Bob had the one line that got me, like, at least have some new evidence, like at least have some new material or something new to report. It just was like it felt like a think piece on months old news. That was my only thing where it's like, well, yeah, like we knew that. Like Porzingis made those remarks in the summertime that it's not a guarantee for him to re-sign with the Knicks. Like it feels exactly as dire as when that first happened because nothing else has happened. So that was my only thing. I was like, it felt exactly just like he was sitting there thinking about the situation, like, and he's like, oh, I'm going to write an article about my thoughts and threw it together because I think the only line in there that was new was like, word is, Porzingis loves New York, but he's still not thrilled with the Knicks. And then my last point before I'm going to go to Brian here was, well, duh. It doesn't sound like it's dire. It just sounds like before you commit to somebody, you want them to get their shit together. Like that's all it seems like to me. I don't think it's any coincidence since those comments happened that they've been pushing this culture narrative and look like, oh, look at us finally going all in on the rebuild like everybody wanted us to. Look at us doing things the right way and hiring, the right people. And all of a sudden it's like they want to rush to clean up their act a little bit and save face. And I just think that's fine. It just feels like he's been keeping them in line. Like, look, I want to be here. You want me here, but I'm not going to put up with your same old shit. That's all this has always felt like to me. I think he re-signs, but Brian, please give me your gripes and your feelings on this.
All right. So first, just go as Kyle said. It's too long for me to read, but add Bob Sietta, BOBSIETTA, and he kind of Joe Morgan's the article. And it's just the basic gist of it is he wrote a story and there was nothing to report. Like it's an old quote. He had a thing speculating that the Nets might try and sign him, which if the Nets try and sign him, that's great for the Knicks because the Knicks pay him less money then. So the restricted free agency route isn't really a thing unless you're worried about him doing like a 2-year with an option or something like that so he can get to free agency sooner.
I would really love to get the Nets fans' hopes up way high that they're going to sign Porzingis and then just snatch him right out of their hands.
But there's just I'm trying to come up with a way to do this. It's just garbage. He's not going
there it is.
Yeah, let your true feelings shine.
I like how he's trying to put a care. You see, like you can hear the wheels turning in his head about how to phrase it nicely, and then it just snaps and breaks. It's garbage.
He's re-signing with the Knicks. He's a dude with a frail frame who's coming off an ACL injury, and if he doesn't re-sign for 5 years, max money, if the Knicks offer that, he's getting really bad advice, and he should shoot his brother to another planet.
And by his own admission, he wants to be careful about it. I remember at Media Day, all the beat guys, everybody was peppering him about a timeline when he's going to come back. And I remember him saying, and there was a little, I wouldn't say like a hit camp, but people came out to try to debunk him immediately. And he was like, hey guys, like I have a really awkward, lanky frame, like a really unique frame, which is objectively true. It's factual. It affects the way he moves in the first place with all the different mechanisms of basketball. But he's like, I want to just be really careful with this. I don't want to put a timetable on it or rush back or try to do too much too soon. He's like, so I'm going to really take my time getting back and making sure I'm good for next season. That's it. And I thought that was a perfectly fine answer. And then they kept asking him about it and asking him about it. So for a guy who seemed that concerned about, getting the best treatment and taking his time and understanding and being self-aware that despite the doctors trying to debunk it or successfully having debunked it, he was just like, look, I understand why, the optics of it, and I want to be careful, and I know that I want to be with this franchise healthy for a long time. And it just seems like he's well aware of the risks of the ACL and re-injuring it. So I can't see that kind of a guy then turning around and being like, fuck it, I'll take my chances elsewhere. It would just seem to go against the approach that he's taken to things. And then even the way he's talking about re-signing with the Knicks has been the same way, just very serious, like, okay, but we got to be about winning. We got to be about what's best for everybody. To me, it would just be, like you said, just really bad advice going against his own self-interest to not sign here. Like, I think they'd have to really, really botch it. It'd have to be like a Phil Jackson scenario again for him to want to leave. Like, if Dolan starts acting up again somehow, which in the Phil Jackson era, that wasn't a thing outside of the Charles Oakley incident. But, I can't see, unless the Knicks start really classic Knicks fucking up again in the next year or so, I can't see him not re-signing. It just doesn't make any sense to me.
Anthony, I'll be quick here, but I came up with the way I wanted to explain it. He was with Isola at the Daily News. And this is the Isola plan to a T. You take something that was from a long time ago, you recycle it, and you just write the same thing again. And that's basically what this was. It was just recycling an old story that will get a lot of clicks, and just you keep doing it. That's what Isola's formula has been for 15 years. And Bondi worked with Isola, and I'm sure they have talked and done stuff, and he kind of sees how to get clicks because Isola gets attention, and a story like that gets attention. And I think that's what we're looking at here.
You would never find recycled content like that at the Knickswall.com.
Oh, speak for yourself. I will recycle Enes terrible takes over and over and over again.
Got to get these clicks, baby.
I didn't say anything about the podcast, but the one thing I did get from the Bondi piece, the Knicks are 15 and 51 since Porzingis went down. Yeah, 15 and 51.
It's been miserable.
That's a crazy record, 15 and 51.
You know why it's miserable? Because even though there was things last season that bothered us, like there was Jeff Hornacek stuff that bothered us, or a lot of people complained about Tim Hardaway Jr. Like, we obviously had our complaints, right? But like, we expected them to win games. Like it was a fun time. Like seeing KP come into his own as a number one option. We were in the playoff mix pretty much the entire time until he went down. Like they started to fade a little bit, but they were still there. And it's like, I missed that. I thought we had finally turned the corner a little bit. I was really...
Us? The Knicks?
We had KP playing well as the number one option. It felt right. Everything started to feel right a little bit. And then, that this has the bleakness of the 2014-15 season, like how gross it felt.
It ain't that
bad. How gross
it's
it
close,
felt in the present moment to just keep losing and losing and losing and losing. Like it is...
I had to watch Jason fucking Smith for 82.
And Shane, Tiny Hands Larkin. It was a weird year, but
fucking Quincy Ace.
But no, just like just knowing like every game, like okay, they're gonna lose, but what are we looking for? Like I miss not having that for once. I miss like, all right, well, I fully expect KP to hang 40 on Jokic at the Garden, and then KP hangs 40 on Jokic at the Garden. Like it's a nice.
I did want to say like that I did. Because obviously Vonleh got overmatched in the Nuggets game from yesterday, and like he tried, but like Jokic could just shoot it over his head or just hold the ball above his head. He almost looked like he was bullying him. But like, can you imagine if KP was in there? That game would have been so much more interesting. Obviously, much more interesting. There would have been more stakes involved. But I'm really dying for a KP and Jokic matchup.
I mean, they've taken their turns at each other the last couple of years. No.
No, I know, but like I'm talking prime.
I know.
It hasn't
I'm agreeing
been,
with you. Like,
yeah.
The year one, Jokic shat on KP at the Garden. I think that's when he had his career high, and then, or at the time his career high, and then KP went back last year when he came back to the Garden and just beat the shit out of him. He just went off for like 40-something points, torched him most of the first three quarters. Jokic went off a little bit towards the end, but that was a really exciting game last year. The Knicks won, and then, I mean. They're always going to get lumped together because they're European bigs. So having them perform well against each other, despite Jokic being my arch nemesis, as everybody knows, he makes himself a good villain, and everybody loves a good villain. So having that.
What was our bet last episode?
I think a round of drinks, a Venmo beverage, perhaps.
I think you may owe me that.
Why?
Because
didn't you say they'd win the Denver game, or did you say they'd win the Lakers game?
No, I said that Jokic wouldn't do more than 2, or you said that. Whatever, we'll talk.
I thought that was about we picked the games. I lost mine. I think I had the Jazz game. That went well.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I'm still due for the Lakers game. That's right.
I think they might beat the Lakers. I liked how they played against Denver, and I'm hoping it's a step in the right direction.
Oh, see, I'm opposite now. This is your classic letdown game. They knew they had to put on a good performance for Mudiay in Denver, right? And they doubly knew they had to put on a good performance because no matter how much they might be tanking, no matter how talentless they might be, they aren't getting beaten by 40 or 50 bad. And they knew that couldn't happen again in Denver. So it was that and the Mudiay revenge game, and I think they were playing for him a little bit. So now you got that out of your system. You were competitive. You lost a close game. There's no revenge factor here. There's no motivating factor here. You're playing against the Lakers. Is LeBron back yet? I don't think so, right?
Yeah.
Is he?
No, I don't think he is.
Yeah, no.
All right. I mean, if he's sitting, there's a chance, but even still, they're pretty good. They're better than the Knicks, obviously. This is Game 3 of a Western Conference road trip here, so I don't. To me, this is all the makings of like we're gonna get slapped by 25. And like Lonzo's gonna go off, just like a weird game.
I'm still. I'm still just gonna stick with my bet. I got no further commentary beyond that. But the Knicks are. I think the Knicks could carry some momentum on here. They just looked tired by the time the fourth quarter came around. But I think I'm gonna stick with my guns here. I think the Knicks are gonna take it.
I'm sticking with 0-3.
Well, the road trip doesn't end quite there, because they still have a game against the Trailblazers on Monday the 7th at 9 p.m., that is. Or no, 10 p.m., because I'm in Central Time. And then they play the Warriors on Tuesday.
Flex.
So 3 more... I know, right? It's impressive. So we got 3 more games left on this road trip here before they come back home. But, as soon as they get back, they're playing the Pacers and the 76ers. So this January is going to keep on being rough, but... Trailblazers, how do you think the Knicks could fare in that game?
Losing that game, too.
That's a bad matchup for them on all fronts. The guards, the big can post up and do different stuff. Did you see that dude had a 5-5?
Yeah, he did. Nurkic, yeah.
With a 20 and 25 by 5. That's nuts.
He was the first player in history to have a 5x5, right?
No. A 20. It was a 20. I saw the same...
It was a 20 by 20 by 5 by 5 by 5. He was the first.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's just nuts.
Real quick sidebar. I don't think that guy ever gets his due because he's like the slow, like plotting big. And
he's forever the guy that lost out to Jokic.
Yeah, and I feel like people have that bad taste in their mouth, not realizing that Portland's a pretty damn good team, and he's a pretty damn good center. Like, I feel like he's one of those guys that we don't allow to be in the gray area entirely. Like, it's either like you're a really good big or you're trash, and I just feel like he gets left off.
Do you know what I think happened with him a little bit is that Zach Collins early in the season looked really good, and that overshadowed him early, and then everyone just kind of forgot about him. But ever since then, he's been Portland's best center.
He's a good player, man. He is. I actually enjoy watching him, as strange as that sounds. I like watching that Portland team. I understand that they're locked into the playoffs for like the next couple of years now, in my opinion, having Nurkic and 3J locked up, but I don't think I don't think the ceiling's open. I just think they're, I don't know.
Just because there's not a ton of Knicks to dive into today, what do you guys think that they should do with CJ McCollum?
I don't know. I think you keep him. I think if you're going to be able to, I don't know if this sounds like lazy analysis, but I feel like sometimes like you should strive to just be a really good playoff team because injuries do happen and things do happen, and you got to be in some kind of a position to take advantage if luck bounces your way. And I think that those two guys are two of the best scoring guards in the league, and in the league that you need scoring from those positions, especially from outside. I think that you just got to hold on to them. I don't know. I don't like the whole trade them and try to not blow things up, but kind of head in a new direction thing and see if you can get over the top. I like what they have going on there, despite them not being like a true contender.
I'd like to, it depends what you can move them for. If you could get a bigger guard that can defend a little better and put him next to Dame, and you think that sort of what the kind of the theory behind the Raptors Kawhi trade and how they moved DeRozan for someone that was clearly better. If you could do that with CJ, use CJ and then add some pieces on, and it would make such an obvious jump in the roster, then I think you can move them. Otherwise, you kind of hope for some internal development from their guys and see if at some point, I don't know what their cap situation is, but maybe you can add someone through free agency, because Dame and CJ do make it attractive. So I don't really have a hard and set feeling on that. It's just kind of what could you get for him and would it make sense?
I think they're actually kind of close to the tax.
Oh, yeah. They have a couple outrageous contracts.
They got Evan Turner.
The Myers Leonard, and Maurice Harkless, but those got to be coming up off the books in the next year or two, I would think.
It's interesting, too, because obviously they are without an owner right now. Or, Paul Allen passed away, so it's the direction of the team could be changing in a couple of years as well. But, they have... I feel like they should try to get a couple of these contracts out of there pretty soon, or take on, the little bit they can take on, because they just do not have a lot of flexibility moving forward. I can't really think of anyone directly I think you should ship out CJ McCollum for, directly, or who would be available. God, they have a lot of centers, man.
They do.
Like Jimmy Butler or Paul George, like those guys aren't going to be traded, but that's the type of guy I'd be willing to trade CJ for, and I think it would really upgrade the Portland roster. Those are the two guys that come to my head first.
Oh, yeah, they got Caleb Swanigan. How's he playing?
Yeah, I don't think he plays. He doesn't play regularly.
All of these 2017 draft picks are forever in my head from one of the draft series that we did a couple of years ago. So I'm just constantly picking these guys out of the blue. I'm just I wonder where he's playing or anything. Oh yeah, they got Nick Stauskas too.
Sauce Castillo.
That dude is not hit anything.
Don't you dare make fun of Nick Stauskas on this podcast.
What is your? All right, tell me.
I'm a Michigan fan.
Oh,
so you no doubt love Trey Burke then.
I did when he was at Michigan. I'm not someone who carries people much to the NBA. That's not my. You did what you had to, and now you're not. I don't root for you anymore unless you're on.
You have no idea how heavy my roommates are Michigan State stans. I don't know if the rivalry makes a big difference to you, but I live with potentially the biggest Michigan State fans out there.
Oh, Michigan has made him cry for a good amount of years. Then we own their asses. John Beilein makes Tom Izzo his bitch. It's great.
You got to see just the amount of Spartans bullshit I got in this apartment right now. It's outrageous. Yeah. Anyway, we got anything else we got to get into tonight? Plug her away, Kyle.
All right. Make sure you're following us on Twitter at the Knicks Wall, also on Instagram at Knicks Wall. Make sure you follow or like us on Facebook. I think you could do both those things now. I don't really understand Facebook. Leave me alone.
It's a strange.
It's a strange place.
I'm pretty close to deleting mine.
Real quick away from the plugs. That's what I did. I deleted mine 5 or 6 years ago. I only reactivated it for this website. So. Okay, back to the plugs. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and our Twitch channels. YouTube is just youtube.com/thenixwall, and we have our film breakdowns there. All the pods go there. So some of you guys listen to us on there already. So thank you for that. But we have our Twitch.
Thank you for the lovely comments as well.
You guys are always angry and keep us on our toes, so thank you for that. Even when we have the exact same, we have two different stances on the same topics, and then you guys either call us homers or we hate a certain player.
There are a lot of comments that I do genuinely.
There are some good
some
ones.
vociferous responses.
There are some. I peruse them from time to time, and they are, that everybody's always correct is to never read the comments, but I always do. I always do.
Oh, I always do. I'm there every day.
Wait,
shout out to all of our commenters.
I've never read any of these.
All right. Well, we have a little bit of time to kill here, so I'm just going to mid-plug. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up.
Oh yeah, you want to get into a couple
because
of these? We appreciate all
of you, but I just want to. I'm not going to name names. I just want to go through and read some of the different ones that we get. I'm going to just go to our latest episode here where we had 23 comments. But let me see if I can find a good one here.
Is this on iTunes?
Nope. This is just on YouTube.
Some of the iTunes ones.
So remember how we said that Frank had been slipping a little bit defensively?
Yes.
Okay. And I think on it, I tried to put the context of he was actually fine on both ends, I thought, but especially defensively up until he got pulled out of the starting lineup the first time, and since then he hasn't really been himself. So someone goes, Frank has one bad defensive game, and now you think he can't play D? What the fuck? It was a bad loss, but it was one loss. Kid needs more than 16 minutes in between DNPs, please. And then there was another thing about Timmy. But then he sent another comment and said, by the way, I'm hard on you guys sometimes, but it's because I believe that not only are you guys a great podcast, but you have a future doing this. Keep up the good work. Highs and lows right there.
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to shout out his name, too, because it's a great name.
Fantastic.
Shout out Raw Hebrew Remnant.
It is. I like reading those comments. It gives me a rush. Because then I immediately want to get angry and go, all right, I haven't done it yet, but I always go, I'm going to debate in the YouTube comments. I'm going to do it one of these days. I'm going to snap, someone's going to trigger me, and I'm going to hop in and just argue. And then I saw the second comment, and I was like, today's not the day. That's a good guy right there.
But if that is your goal, now you know how to do it.
Yeah, so one of you guys get me inevitably.
We'll take the computer away from you before we allow you to comment on YouTube.
Please do. That's about it. I think we have some merchandise sales coming up later in the month. But, just give us a 5-star review in the podcast. You guys seem to be doing that every time we ask. So please keep doing that. Leave us a nice review or comment. Helps us keep doing this for you guys because you're the reason we do it. So that's about it. If you guys have anything else.
Nothing.
Nah, man. Oh, new Twitter handle for me. Go follow @Corbo Anthony.
Did you lose out to the original Anthony Corbo?
I lost out to both the original Anthony Corbo and @Corbo. The original Anthony Corbo, @Anthony Corbo, plug him too. He has some kind of automobile as his profile picture and has tweeted a couple of times, like less than 20, but the one that really pisses me off is like from summer 2017, where he responds, back on Twitter, who's following along for the ride? And then tweeted like 3 times within like 4 months, and then hasn't tweeted since like mid last year. So that's how it's going for that handle. And then @Corbo is some Italian parody account of something I don't understand.
Yeah.
So
I feel your pain. I tried to get @Maggio, and it was a guy who made his account in 2007. His first tweet was signing up, and then never, and then he never tweeted again. That was it. And I've reached out to Twitter support for 11 years to try to get that username, and every time they tell me to suck it. So I feel you.
I'm just not ready for
that. No, so I'm just that kind of Maggio. So follow me is the moral here.
You should probably follow Bryan Gibberman.
Should not. I'm terrible.
He is, in fact, terrible. But at least you don't have to listen to his Baker takes anymore because they shot Baker to the moon.
Hey! That was uncalled for!
I had to get it in at the end. I left you alone in the Baker Departure podcast. I was giving you time to grieve.
He's back on the team. He got signed quick.
He did.
He get signed quick.
He did. And then he had an emphatic block and 0 points in like 20 minutes of play. So classic Ron Baker.
And I think that's the first time I've really raised my voice on the podcast.
It was. There was disbelief and shock in your voice.
It's like the first time you hear a dog bark.
You know what? Did you guys even hear them today? No, right?
No, the podcast is not complete.
Yeah. Yeah. That's because I killed them. They're dead.
I was about to say,
Wow.
It was a joke. It was a joke. I would never do that.
Shouts to Mason.
okay, Michael Vick.
And with that,
Christ. We're in uncharted waters now.
and with that, we will see you guys on Sunday.
Take care, y'all.
Careful to keep track of where your center